What's up, everyone? Welcome to the March 2nd edition of DraftKings Tournament Plays presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at PrizePicks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100. We have a nice 8-game NBA slate tonight. Not a whole lot of injury news again today, but we are still waiting on a few pieces. So as always, be sure to tune into the deeper dive and live before lock on the Awesemo YouTube channel in the 2 hours leading up to tip. But for now, we're going to take a look at 5 of the top tournament options on DraftKings as things currently stand. Number 5, Jeremy Lamb, $4,200 small forward option, only projected for about 2% ownership with a 5% chance of being in the optimal lineup. This is a really interesting spot, and the Kings in general, I think, are an interesting team right now when you talk about some of their peripheral guys like Jeremy Lamb, because essentially we have a group of guys in Lamb, Dante DiVincenzo, Davion Mitchell that combine for around 66 minutes a game. Some games, we've seen that Davion Mitchell get 30. We've seen Jeremy Lamb get 30. DiVincenzo so far has pretty much lived in the 20 to 22 minute range. Doesn't mean that can't change. But what happens is there's a tendency for the field to kind of just feel to rely on the last game, what happened in the last game. And in Sacramento's last game, you just got around 20 to 22 minutes from all of those guys. So if that were to happen again, none of them are going to look like very good plays. But if Jeremy Lamb's playing well, he certainly can get more minutes here. And at $4,200, there's a lot of upside for someone that has averaged a fantasy point per minute since joining the Kings, and that also has been around a fantasy point per minute player throughout his NBA career. This is a spot where there's a lot of volatility in his playing time. And whenever a player has volatile minutes at low ownership, they become pretty appealing options in larger field tournaments. Number 4, Miles Bridges, $7,600, small forward and power forward eligible, projected for about 7% ownership with about a 10% chance of being in the optimal lineup. The Hornets have a difficult matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. The Cavs are a very good team defensively, but it is worth noting that Bridges' salary is relatively inexpensive at only $7,600. He's averaged 1 DraftKings point per minute in the games he's played without Gordon Hayward this year. He's also averaged 36.3 minutes per game in those games. If you just get average production from him here, it's giving you a serviceable projection or serviceable production for his salary. Obviously, he's capable of having an above average game because that's kind of how averages work. So he is, I think, a little bit underpriced for the low amount of ownership that he has. Number 3, Buddy Hield, $7,300 with shooting guard and small forward eligibility. Gets a favorable matchup tonight against the Orlando Magic. He's currently projected for about 9% ownership with a 13% chance of being in the optimal lineup. One reason why his ownership is relatively low is that Indiana will have Malcolm Brogdon back tonight, but I don't think that actually impacts Hield all that much. It's not like Hield has had a massive usage rate in the games where Brogdon's been out. He only has about a 21.2% usage rate with Indiana so far this season. Actually, in the 2 games that Brogdon was in, he actually got up to about 22%. But the point is that Hield has been playing a ton of minutes. He's averaged 38.7 minutes per game and 1 DraftKings point per minute since joining Indiana. Even in the games where Brogdon was in, Hield averaged about 40 minutes. He's getting a ton of run here, and at a $7,300 price tag in a good matchup, also with useful shooting guard and small forward eligibility, he looks like he's going a little bit under-owned. Number 2, LaMelo Ball, going back to the difficult matchup against Cleveland. There are plenty of point guards on this slate, but there are some question marks about a lot of good plays. For example, not to knock Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because I think he's a very good play, but he's one of the most popular point guards at $10,000 on DraftKings in a game where the Thunder are 14-point dogs at Denver. So, for example, while it's obviously a better matchup for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, this Charlotte game only has a 4-point spread. So there's plenty of times where, even if you assume Gilgeous-Alexander does better on a point per minute basis, where LaMelo just ends up playing more minutes as a result of the score in the game. Ball has averaged 1.34 DraftKings points per minute in the 15 games he's played without Gordon Hayward. He's likely to give you around 32 minutes tonight. If he can avoid foul trouble and is playing well, then maybe he even plays a little bit more. But he's currently only projected for about 6% ownership with a 10% chance of being in the optimal lineup. And number 1, the top tournament option on tonight's slate on DraftKings, the way things currently look, is Malcolm Brogdon at $7,100. He sat out the last game on the second half of a back-to-back. but he had played about 30 minutes in his first 2 games back from injury. He also didn't play in the fourth quarter of either of those games. So it's not hard to imagine Brogdon picking up a few extra minutes as he gets healthier and as he's had more time to recover. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we get 32 or 33 minutes from Brogdon. Now, his production is likely to decrease somewhat with Tyrese Halliburton on the team. But overall, Brogdon has averaged 1.09 DraftKings points per minute this season. And while his usage rate and assist percentage are both down in the 2 games he's played with Halliburton, compared to his season average, they're still both north of 20%. He has about a 21% usage rate, 20% assist percentage. In this matchup and at this price point, if he gets around 32 minutes, he looks like a strong option. He's only projected for about 12% ownership with a 21% chance of being in the optimal lineup. So to recap, tonight's top 5 options on DraftKings: number 5, Jeremy Lamb; number 4, Miles Bridges; number 3, Buddy Hield; number 2, LaMelo Ball; and number 1, Malcolm Brogdon.